Today, I really want to talk about what I call Abundance Mindset 2.0. So you may have heard of an abundance mindset before, particularly in contrast to a scarcity mindset, where you perceive that there are a limited number of resources and you feel that that is something where you have to compete with other people or feel less than, or feel a lot of insecurity, whether you have those resources or not, because you're constantly thinking of it as a fight between you and others in order to kind of maintain that limited number. Whereas an abundance mindset is not necessarily saying that there aren't limited resources, but that there is more than enough to go around for everyone, and kind of works more on the idea of positive sum games. And I feel like now more than ever, we need to be creating positive sum games where we make life better for everyone and mitigating the impacts of past negative sum or zero sum games where we have tried to either take from the environment or from other people in order to enrich ourselves and hurting overall society in the process. So what exactly am I talking about when I say Abundant Mindset 2.0? For me, I think of it as pursuing an abundance mindset in things outside of just the traditional career success and financial success where an abundance mindset is typically talked about. And I really think that this mindset can be very helpful in improving your life in terms of many other areas, such as exercise, nutrition, and also being comfortable with being yourself. So let's get right into it. So the general principle for me when it comes to Abundance Mindset 2.0 is to recognize that you are a co-creator of your own life. It's not that environmental factors or kind of where you're starting from, the country you live in, the legislation, all of these different societal factors don't impact you. Of course they do, but you still have control over your own actions, and you can also influence your environment, change your environment to kind of change your world. So there's this constant feedback loop of you and your external environment, which is not just what you can physically see, but your relationships with people and the community that you live in that is always in communication with one another and is impacting your life. So on the side of nutrition, for example, a scarcity mindset with nutrition would cause you to fear, for example, not having food later, so you are more motivated to binge eat now, to finish all the food that's in front of you right now because you're worried that it might not be available later, whether that's consciously or subconsciously. A lot of times this fear is subconscious and we don't even realize it. And on the flip side of things, when it comes to nutrition, people can actually have a scarcity mindset when it comes to control and to really fear losing control by eating or by eating certain foods. And so that can also present itself with a sequence of different disorders that can negatively impact your life as well as the lives of your loved ones who care a lot about you and your health. So how does one apply Abundance Mindset 2.0 to nutrition to find that good balance when it comes to eating healthy, eating enough, not over or under eating? How do we do that? Because it seems like there's so many different ways that it can go wrong, or nutrition can seem very complicated and people will say one thing's healthy and then the next day they're saying that that's horrible and that you should try this instead. So what can we actually apply, and like how can we think about this issue in order to ultimately live healthy lives and live better lives? Well, first of all, I do want to say that it is important to educate yourself about what are healthy foods to eat as well as what are healthy portion sizes. And I do think that a lot of people do know exactly what foods are going to be the best for their body. So that's going to be foods that are less processed, don't have a lot or any added sugar, and lots of vegetables and fruits, and especially lots of green leafy vegetables. In addition, if you are someone who lives in the United States like me, it is important to note that the portion sizes that you're seeing in the restaurants are much larger than what is actually a normal single portion size for you, most likely. And so I would recommend that you, for example, when you're at home, use smaller bowls or plates because there's been a lot of very interesting psychological research that shows that people tend to fill their plates, and that makes a lot of common sense, right? So if your plate is just smaller by default, then you're going to eat less, even though you might not even really notice it. Now, where abundance mindset 2.0 really comes in is when it comes time for you to pick your foods, what you're going to eat, whether that's while you're grocery shopping or you're going out to eat at a restaurant. That is when you can apply this mindset. For example, a lot of people feel that they can't eat healthy because they can't afford to eat healthy. And this is where the idea of co-creation really comes in. And that, yes, 100%, there can totally be environmental factors, societal factors, things outside of our control that are impacting our lives. But we also impact our environment through our actions and impact our own lives, change our lives through our actions. So I want to say that having that kind of a mindset can really help you in terms of being able to eat healthy using resources that you might not have realized are out there. So, for example, in my city, we actually have a program called Community Fridges. And this is a really amazing program where there are certain fridges that are set out in areas of neighborhoods in LA, and anyone can contribute produce or any kind of foods that might be going bad in the next few days that are still good, and anyone who is walking around the neighborhood can open those fridges and avail of those foods totally free. And so I think this is such a fantastic thing because it helps to mitigate food waste. It also addresses some of the food insecurity that we have in our community. And these resources exist not only in LA, but in other areas of the world and different cities around the world. Additionally, if those resources don't exist yet, you could start your own community fridge program. And so what I'm trying to get at here is that there are more resources out there than you might realize. And if you are living with a scarcity mindset, you might resign yourself to your circumstances, not realizing that there's so much out there for you. And so I really want to reiterate that I'm not trying to say that things like social inequities don't matter. 100% they do, but I think that for every individual, they have more agency over their lives, and using this kind of abundance mindset 2.0 in order to live more healthily is something that everyone can do. Now, I do want to speak a little bit to the financial aspect of an abundance mindset, and particularly addressing the two polar ends of challenges that can occur if you have a scarcity mindset around money. So if you have a scarcity mindset around money, first of all, that could manifest itself in you spending every penny that you earn. And this can happen because of, the certain environment that you grew up in, where perhaps your parents didn't have much money, or there was some kind of financial turmoil, and maybe they didn't have the best spending habits. And so that kind of subconsciously gave you the idea that money is something that goes away. It's something that basically I should spend now because who knows what's going to happen in the future. Now, obviously, this becomes a problem when it gets in the way of your long-term financial goals and impedes you from living the life that you really want to live. Conversely, you can become overly frugal with your money if you fear losing it too much, when the real point of money is to give you the freedom to focus on what really matters to you. Now, I want to talk about the overarching theme of Abundance Mindset 2.0, which is to realize that there are more resources than you could have imagined out there in the world, and to have that mindset in order to be able to identify those opportunities and also create those opportunities for yourself. Clearly, this applies to finding ways to make more money, but I want to mention that it also applies to being more comfortable spending money on things that actually matter to you, and also ignoring the infinite number of things that you can buy that are not important to you at all. So, for example, let's say that you are out with your friends and you happen to see that there is a shirt on sale in the window of a store. Now, you weren't thinking of buying a shirt, you didn't feel like you needed new shirts, but that shirt looks pretty cute, and so you feel a little bit of a subconscious desire to purchase it now because it's on sale, and who knows, maybe it'll sell out, or maybe it will not be on sale next week. But I think many of us have experienced doing that exact thing and then looking at that item, whatever it is, a few days later and thinking to ourselves, why the heck did I buy this? Whereas if you take a moment to breathe and remind yourself that, one, I don't need this. Two, even if I do like this particular item and maybe I still will want it later and it does go out of stock or it's no longer on sale, I could find it secondhand, or keep in mind that there are many other items constantly being produced, constantly coming down the line, and there actually might be something better for me that comes along later and I don't even realize it now. As soon as you take the time to think about these things, you realize that there are far more resources than you originally imagined, and there's really no pressure for you to buy this particular thing right now. And if anything, if you take a little bit of extra time, maybe if you really want the item, you can come back for it tomorrow or next week or whenever it is that you actually want. And either one, you'll completely forget that you ever wanted that thing and you'll be totally fine and have saved a little bit of money. Or two, you can be much more confident in your decision to purchase that thing and that you will actually enjoy it long term. Finally, I feel like it's really important to talk about how you can apply Abundance Mindset 2.0 to being yourself. Now, when we talk about being yourself, a lot of times people say to care less about what other people think. But in my opinion, I think that a better strategy is to care more about what is really important to you, rather than trying to ignore other people's opinions purely for the sake of ignoring them. You have a reason that is core to your beliefs in terms of this is the way that I want to live and this is how I want to conduct myself. I think this concept applies really well to relationships, where if you operate in fear, you can either become someone who acts overly clingy because you're so scared that you're going to lose this particular person, or you shut people out and you don't share certain things about yourself because you're so afraid that this one weird thing about me or this thing that I don't like about myself is going to be something that X person is also not going to like, and so they're gonna hate me and they're never gonna want to see me again. However, once again, when we really take a moment to breathe, we realize that some of these assumptions are not correct. So, for example, all of us have heard about, whether it's in music or media or in real life, people who end up pushing others away because they're being overly clingy. Not that there is any other problem in that relationship, whether it's romantic or platonic, but because that person is coming on too strong, being overly controlling because they fear losing the other person, that is actually what pushes them away. Additionally, we have to realize that if we are afraid of being our true selves because we think that this is going to scare a certain person away, that we should consider whether we actually want to live that way or have that relationship if that is actually true. If this person, this friend or partner can't actually accept who I really am and doesn't like me, why am I putting so much effort into this relationship when I'm just hiding who I really am? Additionally, sharing our vulnerabilities is what actually contributes to true bonding. So we could also be missing out on a deeper relationship with the people we care about because we are too scared to share that part of ourselves. So the ultimate principle when it comes to having an abundance mindset in our relationships is to realize that we sabotage ourselves when we have that scarcity mindset of fearing losing others and fearing being ourselves because we think that that's going to drive that person away. Once again, there are so many people out there in the world, and nowadays it's easier than ever to connect with people. Even if there's no one in, let's say, your small town, there are people who you can meet and form close relationships with all around the world. In closing, realizing that there are infinite possibilities to your life and the opportunities that are out there, as well as realizing that you are a co-creator of your life, and that while the environment does impact you, you also impact your environment, can be very powerful tools for changing the way that we interact, whether that is with the people we care about, with our food, with our finances, and can really be applied to all parts of your life. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you again soon.